Everyone loves a classic Jeep. From its inception, the Jeep was designed to overcome all obstacles, to be a winner. No other vehicle better speaks to the American can-do attitude and ability to overcome the odds. The form has changed over the years, but certainly not the heart. No other vehicle sparks the American yearn for adventure and exploration better than our favorite off-roader, and no other vehicle inspires us to dream bigger than ever before. These classics tell the story of the company, as well. Jeep grew and changed, and had many different partners and owners. Models came and went, according to the whims of the time. However, some of the company's sales failures are the most sought-after collectibles today. These are America's favorite classic Jeeps. 1940 Willys Quad. Willys Overland produced this four-wheel drive prototype in 1940. The U.S. Army solicited designs from 135 automakers for a quarter-ton reconnaissance vehicle, but only Willys, Ford, and American Bantam responded. The Bantam design was eventually chosen, but the company was too small to meet the military's production requirements. The Bantam design was supplied to Ford and Willys, and each of the three companies produced 1,500 examples for testing. The Willys version became the standardized production model during the war, and was manufactured by all three companies. 1941 Willys MA. The Willys MA, or Military Vehicle, Type A, was the model used for initial testing. Its powerful Go Devil four-cylinder engine was a favorite among the GIs. Willys was awarded a contract to produce 16,000 revised vehicles, the MB, at a cost of $738.74 per unit. 1941 to 1945 Willys MB. This first production Jeep was tough, simple, and changed the world. World War II reporter Ernie Pyle once said, "It did everything. It went everywhere. Was as faithful as a dog, as strong as a mule, and as agile as a goat. It constantly carried twice what it was designed for and still kept going." Over 350,000 were built by Willys between 1941 to 1945, and total wartime production by all companies was about 640,000. Note that the grille has 9 bars. Ford came up with this stamped design to save weight and cost, rather than the flat metal bars used on the Willys MA. 1945 to 1949 Jeep CJ8. The Jeep entered civilian duty after the war with the CJ8, or civilian Jeep. It was initially marketed as a farm vehicle and came with a power takeoff unit. A bit softer than the military version, it featured a tailgate, larger headlights, an external fuel cap, better cooling, and a top speed of 60 miles per hour. Note that the grille now has the traditional Jeep 7 bars. The number was reduced from the 9 Ford introduced so that Jeep could trademark the design. 1946 to 1965 Willys Wagon. Though it looked like a Woody, the 1946 Jeep station wagon was the first all-steel people hauler. The wood was actually a 3-tone paint job, applied over panel sections that mimicked earlier construction methods. The design stayed in production until 1962. Only available with 2-wheel drive in 1946, 4-wheel drive was added in 1949. 1947 to 1965 Willys Overland Truck. The Willys Overland Truck was a further attempt to diversify the brand beyond the flat-fendered hero that won the war. It rode on a 118-inch wheelbase and could be ordered as a chassis cab, stake bed, or pickup. 2- or 4-wheel drive was offered and, like the CJ, it was initially marketed to farmers. The first Jeep truck persevered with only minor sheet metal changes until the 1960s. 1948 to 1951 Willys Jeepster. The first Jeepster was a 2-wheel drive vehicle initially intended to be a sports car, but the Go Devil 4-cylinder under the hood lacked the necessary performance. The vehicle was then promoted as being suitable for women drivers, but most found service as a suburban second car for sunny day use. A 6-cylinder Hurricane engine was eventually fitted. 1949 to 1953 CJ3A. The CJ3A can be distinguished from its predecessor by the one-piece windshield with dual wipers and a vent. Other differences are a bit more subtle, such as increased legroom for front seat passengers, a brawnier transmission, and a B-fire rear axle. The military version, the M38, was B-fire still. It had a stronger frame and suspension, and could function when submerged thanks to a waterproofed electrical system. An updated later version, the M38A1, was produced 1952 to 1971 and became the basis for the CJ5. 1953 to 1968 Willys CJ3B. The CJ3B had a higher hood than the previous model to accommodate a more powerful Hurricane engine. A new transport case offered quieter operation and a longer service life. Over 150,000 CJ3Bs were produced over 15 years of production, and the model was the last of the flat-fendered Jeeps. 1953 also saw the merger of Willys Overland and Kaiser Motors. The new company operated under the name Willys Motors. 1955 to 1983 Jeep CJ5. The softer styling and rounded body contours of the CJ5 appeared for the 1955 model year. Based on the 1951 Korean War M38A1, the new CJ was stronger, more comfortable, and more capable off-road than the older CJ3. The CJ5 had the longest production run of any Jeep vehicle. Over 600,000 were manufactured at Jeep plants in more than 30 countries, and the SUV was marketed in more than 150. 1955 to 1981 Jeep CJ6. Some early CJ owners complained of a lack of passenger and cargo space. Willys Motors added 20 inches to the wheelbase of the CJ5 and voila! The CJ6 was born. The longer design also created a more comfortable ride and increased off-road ability. 1957 to 1965 Jeep FC 150/170ths. Jeep's forward control, FC, series trucks were highly maneuverable, go-anywhere workhorses. The FC 150 had an 81-inch wheelbase and rode on a CJ5 chassis, giving it a tiny, 18-foot turning radius. The FC 170 rode on a 103-inch wheelbase. Though highly collectible today, total sales were only around 30,000. 1963 to 1991 Jeep Wagoneer. Jeep replaced its aging Willys station wagon with the Wagoneer for 1963. The new vehicle was longer, lower, and larger. It has the distinction of being the first family SUV with four-wheel drive and an optional automatic transmission. 1963 to 1987 Jeep Gladiator. 1963 also saw a completely new line of Jeep trucks, the Gladiator series. The vehicles came in short, J200, or long wheelbase, J300, varieties and shared the same platform, powertrain, and front-end styling with the Wagoneer. Like the original Jeep truck, the Gladiator came in several configurations: a narrow box thrift-side model, and wide box townside, a stake bed, chassis cab, or wrecker. The J200 and J300 became the J2000 and J3000 from 1965 to 1971. The Gladiator name was dropped entirely in 1971, and the trucks were known simply as the J series. 1966 to 1969 Jeep Super Wagoneer. The first luxury SUV was born for the 1966 model year. The Super Wagoneer featured power steering, power brakes, a power tailgate, air conditioning, a tilt steering wheel, hubcaps, and plenty of chrome trim. It also carried a price tag of $5,943, almost double that of the base Wagoneer. 1967 to 1973 Jeep Jeepster Commando. The sporty Jeepster Commando was available in four body styles: roadster, pickup, power top convertible, or station wagon. It was designed to be a youthful competitor to the Ford Bronco and Toyota Land Cruiser. It was also the first compact four-wheel drive SUV to feature an automatic transmission. AMC bought the company in 1970, and the Jeepster name was subsequently dropped. 1972 to 1983 Jeep CJ5 Renegade. The Renegade is arguably the most famous Jeep of the era. The color shouted 1970s. and a V8 under the hood provided a little extra grunt. The B-Fire Jeeps also got a limited slip rear differential, a stouter driveline, and alloy wheels. For the debut model year, shown, 600 Renegades received a special paint job, 200 each in Riverside orange, mint green, and Baja yellow. 1975 to 1983 Jeep Cherokee. The Jeep Cherokee was a two-door version of the Wagoneer aimed at younger, sportier buyers. It had bucket seats and racy detailing in step with the times, and was the first recipient of what is now known as the Four-Wheeler of the Year award from Four Wheeler magazine. Later models would sprout to additional doors. 1976 to 1986 Jeep CJ7, AMC introduced the first major CJ redesign in 20 years with a new CJ7. The new vehicle had a 10-inch longer wheelbase than its predecessor, to accommodate an automatic transmission and all-wheel drive system, and also featured improved ride and handling. Its rectangular doors make it easy to tell apart from the CJ5, which had distinctively rounded ones that mimicked the rear wheel wells. 1981 to 1985 Jeep CJ8 Scrambler. After CJ6 sales ceased in 1975, Jeep owners once again began crying for increased cargo area. AMC launched the small CJ8 Scrambler pickup in 1981. Based on the CJ7 but with a longer wheelbase, the Scrambler was only offered with a 6-cylinder engine, though buyers could choose between a hard or a soft top. Alas, sales were poor and the CJ8 was phased out and replaced with the Comanche. 1986 to 1992 Jeep Comanche. The first Comanches shared running gear with the Cherokees on which they were based, and were unique pickups at the time for having unibody construction. Two bed lengths were available. The short bed version was called the Comanche Sport Truck, and the long bed version was called the Comanche Chief. The demise of the Comanche marked the end of a Jeep pickup line going back to 1947. 1987 to 1996 Jeep Wrangler. 1987 introduced the Wrangler, commonly known as the YJ in Jeep circles, and the vaunted CJ was no more. The Wrangler was an all-new design and had more in common with the Cherokee than with any of its CJ lineage. It was comfortable and modern. It even had rectangular headlights, famously the first and last time they would be used on this type of Jeep. The Chrysler Corporation purchased AMC on August 5, 1987. Jeep was absorbed into a new Jeep Eagle division. 1990 model shown,